Okay, let's unpack this. Sometimes the most foundational parts of our lives, right? The things we use every single day, maybe without a second thought.
Yeah, like what we cook with.
Exactly, like cooking oil. They have these incredible hidden economic stories behind them. So today, we're diving deep into the global vegetable oil market.
And to guide us, we've got a really comprehensive market research report here. It's from Cognitive Market Research.
Right.
And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to explore the market's current state, look at its, well, powerful growth projections all the way out to 2033.
All right.
We want to pull out the most important insights from all this data, give you a clear picture of where this essential global industry is heading.
And essential is the right word. We're talking about a truly massive industry here. I mean, hundreds of billions of dollars globally.
Huge numbers.
And understanding these figures, it isn't just about market trends, is it? It offers these unique insights into global commerce, shifting consumption patterns, and just the sheer scale of the supply chains feeding the world. So let's kick off with the overall picture, because the numbers are pretty striking.
Okay.
The global vegetable oil market back in 2021 generated a massive $292.8 billion in revenue.
Already a huge number.
Yeah. And if that sounds like a lot, just wait. The projections, they show it climbing to almost $350 billion by 2025, and then a staggering $496.5 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That reflects a compound annual growth rate, the CTR, of about 4.5% over that whole period.
And what's really noteworthy there, I think, is how consistently strong that growth is projected to be. We're talking over an entire decade.
Yeah, steady climb.
It really points to a fundamental and expanding demand for vegetable oils across the globe, which, raises an important question for us, which is which regions are really driving this impressive global expansion and what makes them sort of unique in this picture?
That's the perfect question. Because now we should transition to that regional breakdown. Let's invite you, the listener, to think about how different parts of the world contribute to this, well, colossal global market.
Right.
Let's start with what the report identifies as the absolute powerhouse of growth.
Okay, so that's the Asia-Pacific region, clearly the growth leader here. It's projected to have the highest regional CAGR, expanding at over 5.6% annually.
5.6%.
Yeah, and its market value, expected to basically double, growing from about $55.6 billion in 2021 to over $104 billion by 2033.
Doubling. So this region is adding another market the size of its 2021 value in just over a decade.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It really is.
And within Asia-Pacific, we see some really significant players, right?
Absolutely. China alone is projected to grow from roughly $16 billion to nearly $28.3 billion. That's an annual growth rate over 5.2%.
Yeah.
And Japan follows pretty closely, expanding from about $12.2 billion to over $21.2 billion, also growing at a similar pace.
These are massive contributions to the overall market size.
Definitely. And then there's India, showing particularly robust momentum.
Right. India's always one to watch.
Yeah, its market is projected to more than double, growing from about $7 billion to over $15 million, with an impressive CAGR of nearly 6.9%.
Wow, almost 7%.
Which likely reflects, its massive population, rising disposable incomes, fueling more consumption.
Makes sense. But get this. The standout fact, I thought, for individual country growth rates in the entire report.
Go on.
Singapore. It boasts a remarkable CAGR of over 7.1%.
7.1, higher than India.
Higher than India.
Yeah.
Expanding from just under $2 billion in 2021 to over $4.2 billion by 2033.
That's incredible growth, especially for a smaller nation. What do you think drives that?
Well, it likely points to its role as a key processing or maybe a trading hub for vegetable oils in the region, rather than just domestic consumption.
Okay. A hub status makes sense.
Yep.
And Southeast Asia as a whole.
Also showing really robust growth, over 6.7% CAGR for the whole subregion.
Okay. So Asia-Pacific is clearly a hotspot. What about other regions? South America?
Yeah, shifting focus there. South America is also showing pretty healthy momentum.
Right. The report shows a healthy growth rate of about 5.5% annually for South America, expanding its market from around $19 billion to over $36 billion.
Still significant growth.
Definitely. And within that, Argentina stands out with a 6.3% CAGR, and Colombia is over 6.2%. So countries showing particularly strong growth within the region.
Indicating maybe growing domestic demand, perhaps expanded agricultural output there too.
Yeah, likely a combination of factors.
Okay. And what about Africa?
Africa, well, it's starting from a smaller base, but it's demonstrating really substantial emerging potential.
Okay.
It's projected to go from about $5.5 billion in 2021 to nearly $11 billion by 2033.
Almost doubling as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Growing at an annual rate of about 5%. So just under the Asia-Pacific average, but still very strong.
And key markets there.
Nigeria, about 4.6% CAGR, and South Africa, also around 4.6%. They seem to be key markets driving this expansion on the continent, as our populations and economies continue to develop.
Right, right. Okay, so strong growth in Asia Pacific, South America, Africa. What about the more established markets? Let's look at North America.
Okay, North America. It's a large, definitely established market, but it shows more moderate overall growth compared to those other regions.
Moderate meaning.
Its CAGR is about 4.1%, so still growing, but not quite at that 5-6% pace we saw elsewhere.
Okay.
It's growing from roughly $117 billion in 2021 to over $191 billion by 2033.
Still huge numbers in absolute terms.
Oh, absolutely. And the United States accounts for a very significant chunk of that. It goes from about $90 billion to over $144 billion.
And its growth rate.
The U.S. growth rate is slightly lower, nearly 3.9% annually. This suggests, maybe a more mature market dynamic. Growth is steady, but perhaps not as explosive.
But what's interesting there is Canada, within North America, it kind of stands out, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Canada shows higher growth, hitting a 5.7% CAGR.
Higher than the U.S., higher than the North American average.
Exactly. It's projected to go from about $13.2 billion to $25 billion, so noticeably outpacing its neighbors in the region.
Interesting dynamic there. Okay, let's cross the Atlantic and look at Europe. You mentioned it presents a really diverse picture.
Yeah, Europe's interesting. The overall market is growing at a CAGR pretty similar to North America, actually, about 4.1%.
Okay.
Reaching approximately $138 billion by 2033. But yeah, within the continent, you see some really contrasting paces. It highlights different economic dynamics at play.
So who's growing fast in Europe?
Well, France shows strong growth, a 5.5% CAGR, increasing its market from about $8.4 billion to over $15.6 billion.
Pretty robust.
Yeah, and the rest of Europe segment, which lumps together several other countries, is also quite robust, over 5.5% CAGR as well.
So maybe including countries with developing economies or specific culinary trends driving that.
That seems likely, yes. But in contrast, you see more modest growth in places like the UK, about 3.2% CAGR. In Germany, about 3.3% CAGR, again suggesting these are very mature, perhaps somewhat saturated markets for vegetable oils.
And to really underscore those contrasts, the report actually pinpoints some of the lowest growth rates mentioned anywhere.
Right, like Sweden.
Sweden, yeah, at just a little over 1.3%. And Denmark, get this, a notably low 0.2% CAGR. Barely growing.
0.2. Wow.
So what does this huge disparity within Europe tell us? What does it mean for understanding the economic dynamics there?
Well, it definitely shows a really varied landscape, doesn't it? Influenced by factors like maybe population growth or lack thereof, dietary shifts, perhaps away from certain oils or towards others, or even the role of vegetable oils in, say, industrial applications across different nations might vary significantly.
Right, many factors.
And then there's the Middle East. It shows overall a lower regional CAGR compared to others, about 3.1%,
Okay.
growing to just over $15.5 billion by 2033. However, even within that region, you see stronger performers, like the UAE at 4.25% CAGR.
Okay, decent.
And Egypt at 3.64%. So showing relatively stronger growth within that regional context, which is noteworthy.
So as you're taking all these numbers in, all these regions, you start to see patterns emerge, right? You have to consider what might explain why some regions or countries are showing this explosive growth.
Yeah, like Asia-Pacific, parts of South America.
While others are clearly more mature markets or experiencing much slower expansion, like parts of Europe.
And this really raises that important question about the underlying factors, doesn't it? How could different things influence these varied growth rates?
Like what specifically?
Well, we're talking about everything from basic population dynamics, growing populations need more food,
Sure.
to evolving dietary shifts, maybe health trends pushing people towards certain oils, or just increased consumption overall. And then there are the non-food uses, the industrial applications of vegetable oils.
Biofuels, cosmetics.
Exactly. All of these factors are sort of swirling together and get reflected in these market numbers. It paints a complex, but I think a fascinating picture of these global economic shifts happening right now.
And there you have it. I mean, the immense scale and the really dynamic growth of the global vegetable oil market.
It's quite something.
From nearly $300 billion back in 2021, projected to reach almost half a trillion dollars by 2033. It's just a reminder, isn't it, how even seemingly small percentage shifts in that CAGR.
At 4.5% globally.
Yeah, it translates into absolutely massive financial changes over time, shaping global supply chains, agriculture, entire economies.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, if we connect this to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Consider how these shifts in vegetable oil consumption, driven by these different regional growth rates we talked about, how might they ripple through global agricultural practices? What gets planted where?
Good question.
How does it affect food manufacturing and maybe even the structure of international trade, perhaps even broader geopolitical considerations in the coming years?
Lots to think about there.
Definitely. So what stands out to you most about these trends, and what kind of ripple effects do you think they might create down the line? Welcome to the deep dive. We're your shortcut for cutting through the noise, getting straight to what really matters. Today, we're diving into something that's, well, everywhere in our daily lives, even if we don't think about it much, the global vegetable oils market. And look, this isn't just about your cooking oil. It's a huge industry. It connects to health trends, manufacturing, even big environmental questions. The real question we want to get into today is, can this market actually innovate for what the world needs while also meeting these growing demands for, health and sustainability?
It's a great question. And what's really striking when you look at the market research, which is pretty comprehensive for this deep dive, is the remarkable momentum the market has right now. It's not just getting bigger, it's really changing in some fundamental ways.
Yeah, and as we unpack the sources for you today, I think you'll see some connections, maybe some implications that are genuinely eye-opening. Our goal is really to give you that nuanced understanding so you're not just informed, maybe a little bit ahead of the curve on this. Okay, let's unpack this. So maybe let's start with what's actually pushing this market forward. What forces are expanding it? When you think about why vegetable oils are in more and more things, well, our sources point to three big drivers. First off, there's this huge surge in demand for, let's call them nutritious culinary oils. You see this a lot in developed economies. People are more health conscious. They're actively looking for things like olive oil, avocado oil, canola oil. They're looking for what they see as better nutritional profiles, lower saturated fats, maybe higher omega-3s. That fits right in with these bigger global shifts towards cleaner eating.
Right. And it's not just a vague health trend either. It's quite specific. We're seeing the market respond directly to things like, say, the rise of veganism or how popular diets like the Mediterranean diet have become. Those naturally boost demand for plant-based fats. That specificity, I think, really shows how deep this shift goes.
Absolutely. Good point. Okay, so moving out of our kitchens, another massive growth engine is just the expansion of the food processing industry itself. I mean, vegetable oils are kind of the backbone here, aren't they? They're basic ingredients in everything from, cereals and snacks to baked goods and ready-to-eat meals. And it's not just taste. They're valued for their function, they emulsify, they add texture, and, crucially, they help extend shelf life.
Think about it, right? So many of the packaged foods we kind of rely on wouldn't really exist, at least not like they are now, without these oils. Their versatility is often overlooked, but yeah, it's core to why they're so deeply embedded in the modern food system.
Okay, and then the third one is a bit of a gear shift. It's the growing use of vegetable oils in the biofuel sector. We're talking mainly palm, soybean, and rapeseed oils here, gaining real traction. And this isn't just, a small trend. It's significantly driven by global mandates on renewable energy. Governments are actively pushing for cleaner alternatives, and that creates this huge ongoing industrial demand. Like, soybean oil alone was almost 40% of U.S. biofuel feedstock back in 2022. That shows you the scale.
Yeah. And if we sort of tie all these threads together, what's fascinating here is how interconnected these drivers really are.
Yeah.
You've got health consciousness influencing your grocery shopping, right? But then you also have government energy policies fundamentally reshaping global commodity flows. It's this dynamic interplay. It creates this complex sort of interwoven web of demand that really defines where the market is now and, importantly, where it's heading.
Okay, so lots of growth, lots of momentum. But I imagine it's not all smooth sailing. What are some of the big challenges or hurdles the industry is facing? Because here's where it gets really interesting, right? No market expands without hitting some bumps, and this one definitely has some significant ones.
That's right. A really big one is the volatility of raw material prices. Just think how fragile it can be. You get a major weather event, say in Southeast Asia, hitting palm oil production or maybe political instability in a key soybean area or even just new trade rules. Boom, you can see massive price swings almost instantly. And that feeds directly into supply chain instability. And it really squeezes profit margins for producers. Makes long-term planning incredibly tough. It's like a constant tightrope walk.
Yeah, I can see that. And then there are the health concerns, which kind of loop back to what we said earlier about consumers. There's definitely growing unease about certain processing methods, especially partially hydrogenated oils, the trans fats issue, but also other highly refined types. And you see this pushing consumers towards like cold pressed or minimally processed oils instead. That's obviously a challenge for the producers of more traditional, heavily processed stuff. It's a clear sign that, transparency and clean labels are becoming table stakes.
Absolutely. And it forces manufacturers to rethink things, doesn't it? It's not just about what's cheapest or most efficient anymore. It's increasingly about what the consumer sees as healthier, safer.
Yeah.
This raises an important question, I think, for anyone involved in this market. How do you actually balance that undeniable economic demand, the growth opportunities, with, well, the critical need for environmental responsibility and these shifting consumer health demands? It's a really complex ethical and practical puzzle, and how the industry navigates that is going to be key to its long-term future.
That's a crucial point. Okay, so given those challenges, how is the market changing? What about innovation, changing habits? What trends are shaping the future here?
Well, one major trend that stands out is what the research calls premiumization. You see consumers getting much more interested in things like organic, non-GMO, even single-origin oils. Think like, a fancy single-estate olive oil, or maybe a specific type of sustainably sourced avocado oil. These niche oils appeal to, yes, gourmet cooks, but also health-focused shoppers, environmentally aware buyers. It becomes about more than just the oil itself. It's the story behind it, the origin, the perceived quality, and people are willing to pay more for that.
Right. It's almost like craft beer, but for cooking oils. That makes sense. And alongside that, you mentioned technology.
Yes, technological innovations are really making waves, sometimes quietly. We're seeing new extraction techniques. Things like enzymatic processing or using supercritical CO2. These are setting completely new standards for quality. What's really interesting is how these methods can improve the yield, yes, but also boost purity because they often avoid chemical solvents. And sometimes they can even preserve more of the good stuff, like antioxidants, that might get lost in traditional processing.
Wow. Okay, so better quality, potentially better nutrition too.
Precisely. These aren't just tiny tweaks. They're fundamentally changing what's possible. Purer products, better profiles. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it shows a market that's not just expanding outwards, but also kind of evolving inwards through sophistication and precision.
Interesting. And what about globally? Any other big trend?
Oh, absolutely. A huge, maybe sometimes overlooked trend is how important developing markets are becoming as growth engines. Think about regions like Africa, Asia Pacific. You've got rapid urbanization, changing diets. That's driving up demand for affordable, everyday cooking oils in a big way. These areas are just critical for the market's future growth path.
Right, because the sheer number of people and the rising middle class, say in India or China, their demand for just basic cooking oil is enormous, and it's still growing steadily.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, what all these trends show is a market becoming much more nuanced, much more globally interconnected. You've got everything from these high-value niche products in wealthy countries to sophisticated processing tech, all the way to massive demand for affordable basics in emerging economies. It's really a dynamic ecosystem, reflecting these profound global shifts in how we produce food, how we consume it, and how we value these essential goods.
So, okay, what does this all mean? Wrapping things up, our deep dive today really shows the global vegetable oils market is, well, it's evolving into this really fascinating intersection of health, sustainability, and innovation. From the staples in our cupboards to biofuels, from clean label demands to premium oils. It's a space with really diverse opportunities, but also some pretty significant challenges.
Absolutely. And maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is that understanding these nuances, this sort of dynamic dance between what consumers want, what technology enables, and our environmental responsibilities, that's really key to staying ahead of the curve. This market isn't standing still. It's a living thing, constantly shifting, understanding its pulse is, well, pretty crucial.
And that's our deep dive for today. Thank you so much for joining us and for your curiosity. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you next time with another deep dive.